So welcome to the node.js Diagnostics Working Group for April 17, 2019. We'll follow the agenda as mentioned in issue number 292. If everybody who's here, I'm just going to paste the link into the chat. If everybody's here could add themselves to the present, that would be good. First on the agenda is, does anybody have any announcements that they'd like to share with people?
The Perfetto repo has been created. Thanks, Michael, for that. I posted on the Perfetto issue the link to it, so if anyone wants to follow it, then it's there.
Yeah, so that's Node. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was Perfetto.
Yeah.
I'm just going to paste the link to that into the minutes.
Okay.
I think people get automatically subscribed, so.
I think the TSC did. I saw a number of automatic starts, but I don't know what subscribed though.
Okay, I can see I'm subscribed anyway. So,
okay.
Any next steps or whatever you want to call out on that front?
I'm building. Well, I've been able to build Perfetto with JIP, but I'm just ironing out a few details there, and then I have some code, but I'm actually not sure what the review process would be if it's something where like the entire reviews for code would happen when I open a PR for the main node repo, or if anything happens there.
It really comes down to how many active participants you have, I think. So for example, for an API, we did do reviews. We asked for like one other PR review before we landed things, but we had quite a few people working on it. Okay. And there is like a full review when you make the PR into core anyway, right?
Yeah.
So if you're the one doing most of the work, I don't think it necessarily needs to slow down waiting for other people's reviews. But if you end up with 2 or 3 people contributing, you might want to, ask for one review just because for some coordination or whatever. But I don't think there's any hard and fast rules in that front.
Okay. Well, either way, I think I'm going to have the Perfetto and Chromium people look at the code probably before I open a PR. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It might be good to just like on the read, my suggestion was to update the README so that it doesn't, it's different from the original one. And you might put some information on that that's like, hey, if you want to become a contributor, or if you, here's how we're doing reviews, at this point, just land whatever you want, or I mean, other people won't be able to land because I think I only added you to the team, right? But it could be like once added to the team, feel free to land things and we'll do a final review at the end or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I'll remember that with me.
So I'll end up closing out the issue in the admin repo, and if there's anything else that needs tweaking or whatever, just let me know.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the one in the admin repo is still open, and we're probably done since it's open and in use.
Do you mean the one in the admin repo?
Yeah, like I think I'll go back and say, hey, it's created. We can.
Okay, I think I already closed it. But
okay, if it's already closed, even better.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
But we're keeping the diagnostics one open, right?
The diagnostics sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other announcements?
I am still working on the use cases and user journeys. And I really wanted to share on this before this meeting, but I am a little bit behind my schedule. So I really hope I can share it tomorrow with the working group. And we can discuss it in 2 weeks, hopefully. That's it.
Okay. In 2 weeks. Sounds good. Okay, so moving on to items on the agenda. The first one is support pausing the debugger on script load. That's 24687. Does anybody know who added that to the agenda?
I think that was there last time.
Okay.
I took an action item to check in on that CL. That was stagnated because the person who opened it left Google.
Right, got it. Okay.
but I haven't gotten to that yet. But I'm still on plate.
Report.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to add that comment to the issue itself so that we go to the end. Maybe it's there, but not. Okay. Okay, next thing on the agenda is post-mortem debugging support inside of V8 Node.js, which is 227. Opening up that one. Go ahead.
I don't have any updates on that. I think we can remove from the agenda. We had some alignments on the Diagnostics Summit, and I think now we have to wait for the work to be done, especially on V8 on migrating the objects to Torque. And after that, we can start discussing this again.
Okay, forward at Summit. I'm just taking notes now. Yes. Okay, so I will do that as we speak. So that's 227.
Yeah, remove the label.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay. And then, so moving on to the next one, Diagnostic Best Practices Guide. Jarish isn't here, so I don't know if he's made any progress, but I think the work that Peter's working on is directly related to that.
Yep,
I know that we've had, I've provided some feedback, and so has Jarish, so I think we're progressing on that front. Okay, diagnostic working group deep dives. I don't think there's any update on this. Does anybody else has an update or knows of something?
So after I will share the user journeys, I think we should definitely do deep dives on specific use cases to agree on recommended tools, best practices, how the future could look like. So this is just a heads up that I think there will be more topic in the future.
I think that would be a great way to push them forward, to sort of get people together, bash out the sort of outline and what the thoughts are, and then sounds good.
Yep, agree.
Okay, next one, expectation about tier support. Really, the focus is on defining the best practices. So I think we're just going to drive the expectation on the tier support. I think maybe even we could take the agenda item off of this one as well until we get that done, and then we'll sort of drive tagging or pushing those things based on that. Does that make sense to people?
Yes.
Okay, so let me remove the Diag agenda. Okay, removing agenda tag and okay, so the stable API, async hook stable API tracking issue. I guess we don't have, I was trying to think that was Ali who's tagged as the champion for that. So I don't think I know of any progress on that front.
Yeah, I haven't talked really much about that recently. There is that new, I think, storage API that it's not open. I forgot that's active, but I'm not sure what the state that is.
It's still being, I think Vladimir is still trying to figure out a problem in one of the test cases where it doesn't, it loses context.
Okay.
Related is issue around context. Need to resolve. Okay, but nothing else really new in terms of getting out of experimental on that front. That might be something that if we, I don't know, if we're at the summit, if we have the right set of people, we might talk to about it as well. async context formalization and diagnostic support. We don't have Mike. And then last on this issue is trace event number 84. So I guess you've already given us a bit of an update on Perfetto.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any other changes going on in the ecosystem or anything like that.
There was one person at IBM I had a couple of calls to try and ramp them up, but I haven't seen anything happen from that yet. So
okay,
no progress on that front. Okay, so that's the end of our agenda. Were there any other agenda items people wanted to put on or talk about?
It's maybe interesting here because now we have the flag for unhandled rejections in Node Core. And the question is, should we decide on a new default for it? I personally, so we might talk about it at the summit. But just like briefly, because I'm not sure if we want to change it right away or not. But we could, for example, also have a survey from our users about this topic.
What's the current default?
So the default is that nothing changed.
Right.
It's an opt-in. And you can opt into having the strict mode, which means on any unhandled rejection, it would throw an error.
Right.
Or you can opt out of listening to any of those, like it would just not notice you anymore. Or you can choose warn, which is almost a default, but without a deprecation warning. So
right. So warn gives you the deprecation warning or remove?
No, if you use warn, you opt into explicitly you want to be warned, but that way we know, okay, you don't need to be noticed anymore because you already know what you're doing, so to speak. And then there's no duplication warning anymore in that case. Okay. That's why it's a separate mode. So
it's a no.
It's a, sorry, a no?
It's effectively no, don't warn me. I already know.
No, the regular warning would still be there with warn.
Okay, but no deprecation.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so
I would like to have a survey about this, and that would be pretty cool. Because I would like to ask our users what they would prefer in general, and also to, we should write up something about it, how unhandled rejections in general work, what this normally means, and then ask our user base, what would you prefer to have as a general default, because we are not a browser, and therefore we have different requirements for most people. And also it would be interesting to see if there is a difference between different user bases. Let's say you're a CLI user or the company, or I don't know what, you know.
Okay.
I personally like the idea of being user-driven here. So I like the survey, and I think getting rid of the deprecated would be also a good step forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment, it's still deprecated because we didn't decide on any default for the future. I mean, we did decide at some point that we actually want to shut down the application. So similar to throwing as it is right now with the opt-in. But then people were concerned about it again. I mean, it's a long ongoing issue.
Yeah, there was not enough consensus, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we originally had consensus to add the deprecation warning in the first place, but really doing it was another thing. And I guess if we would ever do that, we would have to have a basis from the users for it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree that both like Peter says, having it being user driven would be a good idea. So we could do a user survey through with support of the user feedback team. We still pretty much need to write up the survey questions that we want. So that's really the first step. The other thing we can do is in the user feedback team, we're working on an approach where we can actually get like in-person feedback at meetups. The first one's going to be about adoption of new releases and stuff, but it's a case where, you know, we can also have, you know, ask at some point that one of the questions that happens in those meetups is like, what's your feeling on this? And then we would point them back to somewhere where they could do the result, you know, could comment, and it might be through the survey or through something else. Or, but I think writing up the survey is probably the first thing. It's like if we wrote up a set of questions, agreed on those questions, and then, you know, we need a champion to take that to the user feedback team, and it should be pretty easy to get the survey out and let it run for some period of time.
So I would definitely like to be the champion for that one.
Okay, sounds good. So you're gonna open an issue and work on the questions.
Yeah, so in that case, the question is, should we try to push it out before the summit? I don't think it really makes sense to push it out before the summit.
I don't think there's probably enough time to get some input on the question.
Yeah.
I can still see bringing it up to get people's opinions at the summit.
That's what I just wanted to say. That was exactly my point, that I could gather enough information, put everything together where I believe it's in a good state, and then we can finalize it on the summit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Good.
Any other thoughts, comments?
Sounds good to me. I have another nitpicking topic if we are done with this topic. While I was reading the diagnostic working group README, basically what is our mission, I was really surprised, to be honest, and let me copy paste it into the text. This mission was kind of stated by someone 3 years ago who is not part of the working group anymore. And I was really surprised that what we are focusing is building documents and APIs for the vendors, basically. And I'm not sure this is really the status anymore. I see now we are more into the tooling and providing more complete solutions. So what would be the way to improve it? Or do you agree or disagree with me? I know it's really nitpicking, and this was the first time that I was reading it, but I find it a little bit weird, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the thinking at the time was we didn't necessarily want to compete with anybody like who's providing tooling. So we wouldn't necessarily write a debugger, but the API which people could connect to with the debugger was not an issue. But, you know, I don't have any strong feelings. Like if we basically wanted to trim it after the end APIs or something, or the way to move forward is just create a PR that suggests what you think it might be updated to, and we can have a good conversation in there. I think would be the suggestion.
I will do that.
Because you're right. Probably after 3 years, we have a bit of a different viewpoint. And
yeah. That's my feeling.
That.
Okay, cool. I will do that.
Okay. Just submit PR to suggest. Any other topics or things we want to talk about before we call it a meeting?
We kind of discussed this at the beginning of the meeting, but Ruben, you weren't here, for example, that who is coming to Berlin?
Yep.
I am coming. Okay, you are coming. Okay, cool.
Michael, Ruben, and Peter so far.
Do you know, Michael, that Ginesh is coming from IBM, or?
I haven't heard. I was definitely telling him to try and get approval and everything lined up, but I haven't heard one way or the other. I know he is traveling the next 2 weeks, so I don't know. I'm certainly encouraging him. Sam Roberts, who isn't actually part of the working group, but does have some interest on the diagnostic side, I've heard will be there as well. So.
Okay, cool. Do you know, Ruben, that the near-from people will show up? Or I would expect.
They should be there, yes.
Okay, then sounds like we have some people from the working group there.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay, any other topics?
Not on my side.
No, I'm going to take a quick look to see. There's a couple people watching. 1 minute. If you have any questions you can put them on the YouTube channel. We'll see if we can answer them.
May I ask?
Oh, I see somebody's got their hand. So, Wentz?
Yeah, I'm from package maintenance group Peter. I wish to ask, I wonder one question.
Okay.
There is a request node about async context, and since it can be connected with this point 107, async formalization diagnostic support, and I posted a link to the chat.
Right. So that's 107. Sorry, or right. So let me open that one. I think that is.
Yeah. There is a chat, and I posted link there.
Yeah, I'm just clicking on it. Right. Yes, that is the one we mentioned in terms of the one that Vladimir is trying to resolve the test case for. So we have had a discussion in terms of the stable API for async hooks, and one of the thoughts we had at the summit was that if we defined an API for context propagation, which is kind of like at a different higher level than async hooks, that may then mean that we don't need to focus as much on getting async hooks out of experimental, because we could, change them and have this higher level API stay consistent. And I think that discussion is what triggered Vladimir to open that issue. So it is related in that sense. Does that answer your question, or did you have?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, I think we're keeping an eye on that one, and I think it'll be interesting to see if we can get something like that into core. Although I think we should be, we don't need to rush. We should be a bit careful, because if people start using it and everything, we don't want to have to change it afterwards. Any other questions? I don't see any questions on the YouTube channel then, so if there's nothing else, we'll call it a week. And I will heads up, I am off on vacation 2 weeks from now, but I'm hoping Mike will be back, so he'll chair the meeting, and I'll catch up with you all through GitHub between now and then, but after that, probably at the next meeting.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. See you around.